Tithing is a test. God is testing your heart. Think about this. The very fact, this is so strong, and I'm not trying to be mean, but listen, the very fact that you would argue with God, who gave his son for you, about giving him 10%. He gave his son, and you want to argue about 10%. That ought to tell you where that motivation's coming from. So let me tell you a few things about tithing, all right? Number one, tithing is a test. The word actually means a tenth. And the number 10 in the Bible represents testing. So I'm going to give you some illustrations. I'm going to ask you to answer out loud. And you're going to catch on because there's going to be a pattern. It'll be easy to answer these questions, okay? So here we go. Number one, how many plagues were there in Egypt? 10. Now, I could have said, how many times did God test Pharaoh's heart? See what I'm saying? And it would have been 10. But we're familiar with the 10 plagues. So I phrase it that way. But how many times did God test Pharaoh's heart? 10, right? Okay. So answer this one out loud. How many commandments are there? 10. God's testing our hearts. Okay, now this one you might not know, but there's a pattern. Okay, all right. So, and this is in Numbers. You can read this. God says, I did this to you. How many times did God test Israel while they were in the wilderness? 10, that's right. How many times were Jacob's wages changed?
10.
How many days was Daniel tested?
10.
How many virgins in Matthew 25? Now I'm going to give you a hint. There were 5 foolish and 5 wise. So how many virgins were tested in Matthew 25?
10.
All right, how many days of testing are mentioned in Revelation chapter 2, verse 10? 10. How many disciples were there? No, there were 12. I was just testing. Just testing. Okay. But that's the point. That's what tithing is. Tithing is a test. And I really do believe, yes, it's in the Old Testament. I understand that. But it's in the New Testament too. But it is shocking to me that we use that argument that, well, that's Old Testament. Because there are a lot of things in the Old Testament that we still believe. I mean, the Old Testament said don't commit adultery. Are you telling me now because you're a Christian you can commit adultery? It's just crazy. The Old Testament said, oh, okay, I'll give you an example. I was just thinking about this. Thomas's good friend worked for me. Give me your wallet. Give me your wallet. Okay. Say, I'm just going to keep Thomas's wallet. And the reason I'm going to keep Thomas's wallet is because thou shalt not steal is part of the law, part of the old covenant, part of the old, right? And I'm a Christian. I'm not under the law. That means I can steal, right? It's crazy, isn't it? Okay, so I'm not going to keep your wallet. There's not even any money in it. So I was going to keep his wallet. You took your money out? Now that tells you something. I've been working with a guy 20 years. I say, I want to do an illustration, so give me your wallet. And he takes his money. Okay, all right. But you can't say because it was under the law and it was bad under the law, that it's good now. If it was wrong under the law, it's still wrong. Everyone agree? Stealing is still wrong. Okay. So if it was right under the law, it's still right. We don't get saved by the law, but it's a principle. It's an ordinary principle with God. So that's number one. Number two, tithing is biblical. So many people don't know it's really biblical. They actually know just maybe that scripture in Malachi, will a man rob God? But let me read you some scripture. We're going to have to go through a few so you can see it's biblical. Genesis 14, verse 18. Then Melchizedek, which is either a type of Jesus or Jesus himself. Most theologians believe it's Jesus himself because Hebrews tells us he has no mother or father. He's without beginning and end, not beginning of life, not end of life. And he's called the King of the peace and the King of righteousness. So we know who that is, okay. But watch this. Then Melchizedek, the king of Salem, Salem means peace. Jerusalem means city of peace. Okay. Then the king of Salem brought out bread and wine. Think about the Last Supper even. He was the priest of God Most High. And he blessed him, that's Abraham, and said, blessed be Abram of God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hand. And he, that's Abraham, gave him, that's Melchizedek, who's Jesus, a tithe of all. But here's what you need to know, a lot of people don't know. This is 500 years before the law. And Abraham is our spiritual father. That's what Galatians tells us. When we become children of faith, we're also children of Abraham. We're grafted into the nation of Israel. So our spiritual earthly father, patriarch in the faith, tithed 500 years before it was ever written in the law.